Hey, I'm John Kuiper, and I've been living in the area, Godfrey Lee area, for 50 years, over 50 years. Gone to Lee Street Church for about 6 or 7 years now. We transferred from Roosevelt Park Church and originally Granville Avenue Church. And we came here, and but our children, I was brought up in this neighborhood, and I dated some of the Godfrey Lee school girls even. And they, my parents were very comfortable with all that, by the way. And we just had a good time of mixing together. There were, in that time, there were mostly, it was mostly a white area, white people and a lot of Dutch. But we had a few people that were non-believers and some others too, but we all got together and had a good time. And then our children were also brought up in the neighborhood. So we were there for a number of years, and then we moved out of the area. My father began the business in 1937, and he rented. It was a rental situation that he moved in, borrowed some money to get into business, and moved into that building. We as a family lived upstairs from the building, from the funeral home, and there was a drugstore and a beauty parlor and a funeral home in that one part of that building. So needless to say, it was not a huge funeral home, but we were there for many years, and I think it was around in the middle 90s that we moved out of that area. But it was, while we were there, we enjoyed, I think, every minute of it. I mean, we had good neighbors. We had, we felt safe in this community, and it was just a blessing to be here. Like Lee Street Church, a lot of the people that passed away here were part of our, we did the work for them. And
Tell them about Dr. DeYoung.
yeah, Dr. DeYoung, he was the pastor of Granville Avenue years ago. And he was a real promoter of our funeral home. And he would always tell people what to do when they had a need and they had death. He'd say just call John Kuiper because he's a member of our. That's the way he was, very very bold. The work was hard, tedious, difficult, but it was also rewarding in the fact that when you were able to help a family kind of walk through that valley with them and get them, say, a little kick started to recover from their grief, as you give them some information and assure them that you're going to take care of all the details that they're concerned about. So overall, yes, we had a very good time in that.
Okay.
My name is Marge Kuiper. I'm married to John. We've been married a little over 60 years.
Wow.
Can't believe that. But anyway, we had 4 children, and I was brought up on Hall Street and Granville Avenue. I was originally from the Netherlands, so I was an immigrant, so went through all that kind of thing and not being able to speak English and all that.
Mm.
But you catch on as a kid real soon. So
So that way too. I'm going to interrupt, but she identifies with some of the immigrants. For the people that come here, we sit around and talk with them, and they identify because they both came here.
Yeah, but how old were you when you came?
9.
How many in the family came?
My whole family. I had a brother and a sister and my parents.
On a boat, or how'd you get here?
Yeah,
A boat.
it was like 2 weeks
On a boat.
on a boat.
2 weeks at a boat going.
And then we came to New York, and we came by train to Grand Rapids here. We had to have sponsors. And this my uncle was here, my dad's brother. And so, yeah, then my dad had to go look for work, and they just put us on the bus, on the school bus, next Monday. We couldn't speak a word of English, and none of the teachers could speak English either. So that was hard, but it wasn't as hard for me because I was young enough, and you catch on. And of course, you were kind of because I was about the only immigrant in that school, so then you're kind of a celebrity almost. We lived in the northern part of the Netherlands, so we weren't as involved like in Rotterdam and Amsterdam. We didn't have, but there were soldiers on the street, and I remember one of them came knocking on the door one time with a gun over his shoulder, and you're all petrified, but he just wanted something to eat or something like that. And my dad always said those soldiers were like young kids themselves, like they were 16 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad had in the floor of the upstairs, he put some loose boards and built a brick kind of container in there, and then he had some dried food in there so that if someone did knock on the door, he would go hiding up there, and then they would look over the house and everything, and they never found him. So we came here to Grand Rapids, and we lived on Crofton for a while after living with my uncle and aunt for a while. And I grew up on Shamrock, actually, and we went to Granville Avenue Church most of our life until it was Roosevelt Park, and then it closed and became, so then we came to Lee Street. That was about 10 years ago, I guess. Somebody said it
Maybe
was
6, 7.
2015. Well, I would like to see the church grow, and I think it is growing through the Spanish people, and they're very enthusiastic, and we're hopeful that that will continue, and we will stay here probably. We're probably some of the oldest people here right now. Oh, I have another little story about Joel. Joel's parents, his mother was my friend, and his dad was his friend. So we got them together. So Joel's even said that off the pulpit. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for John.
Yeah.
So, but I see Lee Street going ahead. I really pray for a revival, which Jerry mentioned, but a revival I think has started. I think it has begun, but I just pray for more of a revival so that the people, the existing Lee Street Church, will say, can be more inclusive of the people that are coming here and loving them and remembering that Christ died for them and died for those people too, so that we can have a church universal. And I think Lee Street is on that path. I really do. I feel very encouraged that God's going to bring good things to this church. It's going to bring maybe not a lot of members right away, but I think a good church life.
Being an immigrant, I think it's hard to bring these two people together because they have their own, and the language becomes a problem too sometimes. So it wouldn't probably hurt if some of us would learn to speak Spanish, which is kind of a difficult thing at this age.
Yeah, it's difficult.
But that is a real challenge, I'm sure, and hopefully that we know that God can bring that about too.